Good evening. This most unusual and important race for the White House at the finish line. Votes being counted, polls starting to close, and our special coverage starts right now.
This is an ABC News special. The time is now. The day is here.
It's a choice between a Trump super recovery and a Biden depression.
I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I will govern as an American president.
Live from New York City and across the country, Election Night 2020. Now reporting, Chief Anchor George Stephanopoulos.
Welcome to what may be a long election night, capping a very long election year. We have never lived through a campaign quite like this. A campaign defined by a raging pandemic that has claimed more than 230,000 American lives, caused economic upheaval costing nearly 20 million Americans their jobs, amid racial unrest, protests in the streets of America's cities. It is an anxious, unsettling time. And through it all, America is voting like never before. When the polls opened this morning, more than 100 million of us had already cast our ballots, an astonishing display of citizenship. For the first time ever, more Americans will vote before Election Day than on the day itself. As you can see, people are still voting in much of the country. The lines have been long all through the day. The process has been mostly peaceful. And when all the ballots are counted, more than 150 million Americans will have voted, shattering all previous records. You all know the stakes are high. We do too. I'm here with our political team at ABC Election Headquarters. We have correspondents staked out across the country, at the White House with the president, in Delaware with Joe Biden, and at ABC's Ballot Watch station, where our legal team is focused on what's happening as the final votes are cast and the first ballots are counted. Now, that counting could take some time this year, and that is okay.
Good evening and welcome. You're looking live at Times Square in New York City, the crossroads of America, and our home tonight as America decides. Welcome to our CBS News Election Headquarters. I'm Norah O'Donnell, and it is almost 7 o'clock in the East, 4 o'clock in the West, and polls are about to close in 6 states, giving us the first results in an election night that may still not be over by the morning or the week, and ending a presidential campaign that is both historic and unprecedented. As we come on the air tonight, the coronavirus pandemic has infected more than 9 million nationwide, stolen more than 230,000 American lives, and cost more than 22 million jobs. In the process, it has not only reshaped the reasons why Americans say they voted, it has changed how we cast our ballots, with more than 101 million people voting before Election Day, and millions more waiting in lines today, some for hours. We'll talk about all of that with our powerhouse CBS News political team tonight, and we'll use some new technology, including our America Decides map, to show you which states the candidates have won and which way the others are leaning. But with polls now closing, we're ready to characterize some of the states. Polls in 6 states just closed, and CBS News can characterize Georgia as a toss-up. Joe Biden hopes to flip that reliably red Republican state. President Trump is likely to win Indiana. Kentucky and South Carolina are leaning toward Trump. Joe Biden is likely to win Vermont, and Virginia is leaning toward Biden. Neither candidate has any electoral votes at this early hour, but just remember, the race, of course, is to 270, and it's just getting underway tonight. We mentioned we're bringing you the incredible resources of CBS News. Our correspondents are with the candidates and fanned out across the country live in all the battleground states. And joining me here in our CBS News election headquarters, Gayle King, John Dickerson, Margaret Brennan, and Ed O'Keefe. Wow, you guys ready for this night? Let's go. I mean, we're already getting so much interesting information. We're going to share it with everybody. But, John, we just have to talk about this campaign because so much of our lives have changed dramatically in the last year. This has been unlike any election we've ever covered.
Hello, everyone. We are seeing our first race results of the night. Georgia and South Carolina, they're right now too early to call. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NBC News Election Headquarters. Live coverage of Election Night 2020. It is finally here.
Yeah, and polls are already closing around the country. Here's what we're going to be watching tonight. First, it's the fight between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, of course, for those crucial battleground states that will decide this election, including Arizona, Florida, Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin.
We're tracking each candidate's road to 270 electoral votes. That's the number, of course, needed to win the presidency.
There's another big story tonight. Who will control the United States Senate? A handful of races will determine that question, and we're watching them all.
So polls have just closed in 6 states with 60 electoral votes. Let's get right to it. And you see right now, Georgia is too early to call.
Let's go to South Carolina. There's a big Senate race as well as the presidential. Too early to call. We're waiting for vote there. In Indiana, we can make this call, and it's an expected one. The president will easily carry Indiana, the home state of Vice President Mike Pence. And let's look at Virginia. It is too early to call. However, our projection is that it is a Biden lead at this hour.
All right, let's take a look at Kentucky. And Kentucky right now, too early to call. But you see the first numbers we're getting of the night. Vermont is too early to call. And let's look at how all this takes us on that road to 270 right now. And you can see Donald Trump with 11 electoral votes to Biden 0.
Well, it could be a long night, and this is going to be an election like no other. We've got Andrea Mitchell here with us. We have Chuck Todd here with us. And one thing that's different is the enormous amount of mail-in voting. 100 million people have already voted before today. So we wanted to just break down, when you see expected vote in the top right-hand corner of our graphics, that includes mail-in voting. It's not just day of voting, but includes mail-in voting as well.
Yeah, we're not looking at just precincts. That's the term you're not going to hear a lot of tonight. It's this expected vote, which is an educated estimate. It may change a bit here or there, but it'll be the thing to watch tonight as we get that road.
It is. And look, I'm just going to show you real quick how you'll be able to follow it. And we'll show you real fast here and take a look at one of our states right now. Here, hopefully we are starting to get here. We should be able to see it here in Indiana and not yet here. Well, we will work on that. The data is coming in here any second now. We'll go here and let's see if it's working. There we go. Right here, we're going to be able to tell you, and you'll see this on all of our state results all night long. We'll tell you, in Indiana, we knew there were 207,000 early and absentee votes, and see this orange line. You'll see this as the night.
And welcome back to our special coverage as we enter a very important hour this election night. I'm Trace Gallagher.
And good evening to you, Trace. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sandra Smith. It is 8 p.m. on the East Coast. The polls are closing in 16 states plus D.C. That includes some key battleground states that we are watching tonight, which could be crucial in determining who wins the White House.
Let's begin with Florida, the biggest electoral prize of this hour and a must-win state for President Trump if he is to secure a second term. The Fox News decision desk is currently poring over voting data from the Sunshine State, but not ready to project a winner just yet.
And while Joe Biden could win the presidency without Florida, he would have a much tougher time without the big one, Pennsylvania, where both candidates campaign ferociously down to the home stretch. It could be a while before we know who wins the Keystone State, since it didn't begin to process its mail-in vote until today. That is the process. Why it could take some time. It could take till Friday.
Yeah, it is not, however, too early to call winners in a dozen other contests, including the District of Columbia, a liberal stronghold where Biden will easily beat the president, according to our Fox News voter analysis.
Not surprisingly, Biden's home state of Delaware will also vote decisively for the former vice president.
Yeah, Biden will also coast to victory in Massachusetts. That's according to the Fox News decision desk, Sandra.
The reliably blue state of Rhode Island will also be added to the Biden win column tonight and adds to his electoral vote.
Same story in Connecticut, where the former vice president will coast to victory there.
And also in Illinois, another expected win for Joe Biden.
If you're keeping score, the Democratic nominee will also pick up the perennially blue state of Maryland, again, according to our Fox News decision desk.
An election unlike any other.
Record numbers of Americans have already made their decisions.
Tens of millions voted early amid a resurgent pandemic. Over 230,000 dead. more than 9 million cases.
This is going to get worse.
Still, President Trump campaigned as he did 4 years ago.
We locked down, we understood the disease, and now we're open for business.
Former Vice President Biden, a stark contrast.
We choose science over fiction.
The former vice president, ahead in some polls.
We're done with the chaos, the tweets, the anger.
But will President Trump pull out another win?
We got to win big, and we're going to win big.
Determining a winner could be delayed with a record number of mail-in ballots. Tonight, Election 2020, the counting begins.
Are closing now in 9 key states. 98 electoral votes are up for grabs. This hour could impact everything.
We're going to win the state of Georgia. We're going to win 4 more years.
Voters have made their voices heard.
It's the most important election in our lifetime. It'll make all the difference here in North Carolina.
Which states went red? Which states went blue? Who have they chosen?
We're going to again win Ohio.
You can make all the difference in Ohio.
And it is 7 o'clock on the East Coast, which means polls have just closed in half a dozen states. The most closely watched state at this hour is Georgia, which President Trump almost certainly needs to win if he's to secure a second term. As of this moment, too early to project a winner in this crucial battleground.
It's also too early to make a call in Kentucky. Meanwhile, Biden will defeat Trump in the Commonwealth of Virginia, according to our decision desk.
And the former vice president will also win in the state of Vermont. No big surprise there in the early part of this evening. We will need to look at more data before we can make a projection in the state of South Carolina. And in the state of Indiana, where Trump has enjoyed a lead over Biden in the pre-election polling, all Senate races on the ballot. Either of those could help determine control of the chamber. But here's the kicker. We might not find out who will fill either of those Senate seats until January. That's because of a Georgia state law requiring candidates to win more than 50% of the vote tonight or face a runoff election 9 weeks from today. And in the regularly scheduled Georgia Senate race, incumbent Republican David Perdue is battling Democrat Jon Ossoff and Libertarian Shane Hazel. As of this moment, it is way too early to project who will get the most votes there, much less whether, if anyone, will exceed the 50% level they need to avoid the runoff. It's a similar story in Georgia's special Senate.
It's election night in America, and a nation in crisis is at a crossroads.
We're counting down to the first exit polls and the first results as our coverage begins now.
Across the nation, in red states and blue states and swing states, voters are delivering their verdict on a norm-shattering president and two starkly different visions of America's future.
The President of the United States lied to the American people, and he is unfit for this job.
If Biden wins, your country is gone.
Tonight, President Donald Trump fighting for a second term as a deadly pandemic gets worse on his watch.
All they want to talk about is COVID, 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 COVID.
But look, I got it, and I'm here, right?
Let's go! Former Vice President Joe Biden battling to lead the country after 4 years of political turmoil and division.
There is no place for hate in America. Period. None.
It's a historic clash for the candidates and their running mates. Senator Kamala Harris aiming to be the first woman and person of color as vice president.
When we vote, things change. When we vote, we win.
Vice President Mike Pence hoping to remain as President Trump's loyal lieutenant.
We will make America great again.
With voters now flocking to the polls after record-breaking early turnout. How And when will this election be decided?
This is the most important election in the history of our country.
The power to change the country is in your hands.
This is CNN's coverage of Election Night in America.
We are going to keep on winning, winning, winning.
The race for the White House, the balance of power, and the challenges facing the nation.
There's not a damn thing America can't do when we decide to do it together.
The people are choosing. The world is watching. And anything is possible until the last vote.
This is a live view from high above Washington as Americans are deciding who will serve in the White House for the next 4 years. Welcome to our viewers here in the United States and around the world. I'm Wolf Blitzer in the CNN Election Center. Right now, voters are in the final hours of making a monumental decision for this country about who will lead us through the next 4 years, former Vice President Joe Biden or President Donald Trump. We're counting down to the first results from our exit polls. In about an hour, we'll get an early read on what voters are thinking as they cast their ballots. Then, buckle up for a suspenseful night. Voters in all 50 states are having their say in the heated fight for 270 electoral votes, the number needed to win the White House. 14 of those states are competitive battlegrounds that will ultimately decide the election.
From MSNBC, Dicisión 2020, Election Night. Live from Democracy Plaza. Here now are Rachel Maddow and Brian Williams.
Here we go, 6 p.m. in the East, and we're underway. Americans have been voting for days, setting records, in fact, and they are still voting at this hour in what is a titanic struggle for the future of our country. It will now be decided during an uncontrolled pandemic in our country, which explains the 100 million plus votes that are already in. Brian Williams here with you from our NBC News Global Headquarters in New York, joined by my colleague and friend Rachel Maddow at the far end of our expanded studios. Rachel.
Thank you, Brian. Nicole Wallace and Joy Reid are here by my side at our corner of the studio as well, at a physical distance that belies our emotional closeness. I gotta come over to Kornacki, of course, is at the board standing by for the first results, which are already starting to come in. Tonight, former Vice President Joe Biden back in his hometown, Wilmington, Delaware, after one final push through Pennsylvania, stopping in Philly and in Scranton, where he visited his childhood home. The former vice president started his day early this morning by going to church and then by visiting the grave of his late son, Beau.
While for his part, President Trump started his day by calling into Fox News, and aside from a brief stop at his campaign headquarters over in Virginia, the president has been largely out of view this day. Tonight, the president is huddled at the White House behind a new non-scalable wall where he is expected to host 250 to 400 people, as one does during a pandemic, at an indoor election night party in the People's House.
It is going to be a big night tonight, no matter what happens in the end. We are in for the long haul. We recognize that the long haul to you all night long. Let's start. What do you got?
Well, here we go. We will be getting some results, actually, we think this hour from Kentucky, from Indiana. All the polls not closed there, but some will this hour. But before that, let's take a look at what we can.
Republicans and fellow Americans, this is your call.
To speak the truth, whole truth, frankly and boldly.
Every individual must do his duty.
I don't give a hoot whether you're Democrat or Republican in this kind of a job. You're American.
The election may have been a close one, but I think that there is general agreement. It is to give all our people the right to choose their leaders.
To participate in a system of government where he knows not only his votes but his ideas count.
The office of President of the United States.
And will to the
a new dedication within our government.
In the eyes of many in the world, this every 4-year ceremony we accept as normal
is nothing less than a miracle.
For this is a day when our nation is made whole, when our differences for a moment are suspended.
Not change for change's sake, but change to preserve America's ideals.
We have a moral duty to act, and we are acting.
This is our chance to answer that call.
Now arrives the hour of action.
News Nation is your new election night destination. Millions of voters across the country casting ballots for the next commander-in-chief. President Trump and Joe Biden capping off a campaign season like no other in our nation's history.
This is going to be the most important election, in my opinion, in the history of our country. I never thought I was going to say it.
Time to stand up. It's time to take back our democracy. We can do this. We're so much better than this.
The coronavirus pandemic straining American families and the economy. It has also pushed record numbers of citizens to vote early. A rush of mail-in ballots putting pressure on the postal system and the logistics of it all, leading to legal battles and long lines. News Nation is here throughout the evening, bringing you the updates you need from every corner of the country. Just the facts, no opinions, and with it, a new election night tradition. Good evening. So great to have you with us on Election Night 2020. Off we go. I'm Joe Donlan.
The day has started. I'm Marnie Hughes.
And I'm Rob.
Noticias Telemundo presenta Decisión 2020. Los ciudadanos ya han votado. La suerte está echada.
Time to unite America.
The best is yet to come.
Ha sido la campaña más difícil en medio de una dramática emergencia sanitaria.
COVID. Thousands of Americans a day are dying.
En un año de conflicto racial.
Now we're rebuilding it and we're doing record numbers.
Donald Trump crashed the economy.
Con una gran crisis económica. Son las elecciones más importantes de nuestras vidas. La pregunta de esta noche es, ¿será Joe Biden el nuevo presidente de la nación?
No red states, no blue states, just the United States.
¿Seguirá Donald Trump como presidente de los Estados Unidos?
And we're going to win 4 more years in the White House.
Todo está ya preparado. La mejor cobertura en español. Y con el mejor equipo de periodistas e invitados. Porque hoy es Noche de Elecciones. Trump o Biden.
Muy buenas noches. Llegó el día decisivo. Aquí van a saber quién será el próximo presidente de Estados Unidos. Es un privilegio estar con ustedes en esta noche histórica.
Así es, José, es muy emocionante estar esta noche con ustedes. Es un placer y tenemos para ustedes la mejor cobertura. Y además aquí van a saber también quién gana el Senado y quién gana la Cámara.
Destino 2020 presenta. El 2020 comenzó como el año de la elección presidencial. La pandemia lo cambió todo. Paralizó a la nación. Cobró cientos de miles de vidas. Provocó desempleo, hambre e incertidumbre. Las injusticias raciales y sociales provocaron protestas. El 2020 también ha sido el año de los fuegos infernales y de huracanes sin precedentes.
I feel so powerful. I'll walk into that audience.
We need American leadership.
Ahora llegó el momento de escoger al próximo líder para navegar las secuelas de un año trágico. ¿Quién ocupará la oficina oval? ¿Trump o Biden? Los votantes dirán en Destino 2020, la gran noche.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Muy buenas noches. Gracias por acompañarnos en esta cobertura especial de elecciones presidenciales y generales que están haciendo historia.
A partir de